Our house in the middle of our street. Our house in the middle of our...
Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show, highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyles, community, and neighborhood. And now, from Four Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Our house.
Good morning, and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Good morning, Dorothy.
Good morning.
We have a very busy show today, and also a very special show. And I know I say that a lot, but this first segment is going to be extra special to me on a personal level. We're going to be speaking today all about the Aaron Grider Foundation and the good work that the people at the Sandhills Presbyterian Church are doing and are going forward in the fall. About a year ago, a little less than a year ago, I attended a benefit that was featured Annelle Staal, who is a senior at Pinecrest High School. She's a singer, a songwriter, and a musician. She's a student. She's a big sister. She has a presence about her that is off the charts in every way. And I've had the privilege of knowing Annelle for the better part of about 7 or 8 years. Before I introduce Annelle, I'd like to introduce her with a rendition of a song that she's performed. So let's listen to that for just a second.
Guess it's true, I'm not good at a one-night stand, but I still need love, 'cause I'm just a man. These nights never seem to go as planned. I don't want you to leave, will you hold my hand? Oh, won't you stay with me? 'Cause you're all I need. Oh, this ain't love, it's clear to see.
Outstanding. Good morning, Annelle.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well.
We have a lot to talk about. You're a 17-year-old, a senior in high school, about ready to go to college.
Yes, sir.
And you have started a career and a passion that blows me away. You write your own music.
I do, yeah, thank you.
How long have you been singing and writing?
Well, that's kind of like how long have I been walking.
Okay.
I feel like I started playing piano, not very well, of course, when I was very young, like a toddler, and I've been singing for that long too. Writing my own songs really started in about like 2012, when I was maybe 14 or something. I started writing songs just for fun at first and to get the energy out, and now it's become more of a structured, like, I'm really going to write this for other people, and it's great. I really love it.
When I saw you perform at the Sandhills Presbyterian Church, you were doing a benefit for the Life Care Pregnancy Center.
I was, yeah.
You raised $2,000.
I did, yeah.
Over $2,000.
Yeah, a little over that. It was amazing.
Tell me about the association with the Life Care Pregnancy Center, your inspiration, and how that all came about.
Yeah, well, I'm in Key Club at Pinecrest, and we are talking about some ways that we could get involved in the community and we could benefit other people. And I just, I'm very passionate about little life, and I remember thinking, like, hey, the Life Care Pregnancy Center is a great idea, and then everyone's like, okay, well, how are we going to raise money? And nothing was really coming to mind. And I remember thinking, you know what, I can sing. I can only sing for about like maybe 30 minutes right now, but I can try to do a concert. And so from there I worked really hard, and I got it up to an hour, and now I can play for 3 hours. So I have the concert to thank for that drive, I guess, and it just all kind of fell into place. It was one of the better experiences I've had.
It takes a lot of courage to be able to get up and to perform.
Well, thank you.
And you did it as if you were a seasoned professional. If you were nervous that evening, I think your mom was maybe a little more nervous than you were.
Yeah, for sure. She was pretty anxious.
You have a large family. You have many siblings.
Yeah, I do.
You're the oldest.
I am. I'm the oldest of 6. 3 of my siblings are adopted, the youngest 3, which has played a huge role in my life, just, with the leadership and that kind of thing.
So how, at 17, do you get so directed, and how do you, at 17, get so focused and principle balanced? Because it's unusual. I love to see it, and I admire you for it. If you knew me when I was 17, you would have just walked down the hall and said, he doesn't even qualify as wallpaper. Where'd you get it from?
Oh, man. Well, I think that the passion for music, I think that it's rare that people find their passion sometimes. Some people go their whole life without really feeling something super strongly.
Dorothy, did you hear what you just said?
Yes, it is.
Have you ever heard that theme on the show before?
A couple of times, I think.
400 times?
At least. I've run out of fingers counting.
It's a gift, isn't it, to be able to be so focused so young?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Well, thank you.
It makes you can't wait to get up every morning.
Yeah, it gives you kind of a reason to live. And I remember I've struggled a lot, like I think all musicians have, with just kind of like being hard on themselves and like mental health and that kind of thing. And in my darkest moments, it's been kind of like this passion for, I think, gifts of articulation.
Mm-hmm.
So like music and writing and speaking are so valuable because you can kind of articulate for other people what they can't. And so I love being like a little hero like that. I love being that for other people. And so I guess that's what drives me and motivates me.
You're in an unusual place because you get to do what you love, but at the same time, you're also giving to others, as you did at that benefit concert.
Yeah.
You, in the last year, you actually are playing at a lot of different area venues. Tell us about some of those venues. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, of course. Well, about a year ago, actually, was my first live performance. I performed at the Potter's Cafe in downtown Aberdeen, which was amazing. And I played 2 songs, and now I have about 50 that I play. And so I have a repertoire of about 2.5 to 3 hours, depending on who I play with. And so then I have since then kind of branched out, and I travel to Fayetteville sometimes and play at Luigi's, which is an Italian restaurant, or I'll go to downtown Pinehurst a lot, and I'll do the Drum and Quill or the Magnolia Inn, which are both just like, they're so beautiful. They're like very picturesque kind of places to play, and so that's really nice.
You just played at the Magnolia Inn, I think, last Thursday night. And so where are you going to be playing going forward? Magnolia Inn, you've been to. Where else?
Right. I've,
different places. You're looking each month now to play at different places because it's almost like it feels so good you have to keep doing it to sharpen your craft, don't you?
Okay, yeah. Well, I've played at the Drum and Quill, the Magnolia Inn.
Right.
When I travel, I actually go places too. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in Florida, and so I played on the boardwalk there. And then just a few days ago, I was in LA.
Right.
And so I played there, which was really cool, playing in California.
How do you play? Do you just approach the establishment? Do you do it for pay? Tell us how that all works.
Yeah, well, it varies. I think initially you have to approach, and then you audition for the place. So when I went into downtown Pinehurst, I wasn't paid. It was just kind of, hey, play for tips. We'll see how good you are. And then they ask you back. So I've been asked back, and I play a lot of Saturday nights, which has been a privilege and an honor because, Saturday night, that's a big deal for a musician. And yeah.
You write a lot of your own songs?
I do, yeah. I love music, but I think the passion definitely lies and is rooted in the songwriting portion of it.
What do you prefer to write about?
Oh, man. Well, inspiration comes from just the smallest things sometimes. One time I wrote a song about I really wanted a new pair of shoes, and my mom said no, and I was so upset. So I wrote a song about how the reason I felt like I wanted a new pair of shoes was because I wanted to fit in. And so then I took that feeling of wanting to fit in, and I wrote a song about it. And so it really, it comes from a new pair of shoes or my love for my father. It's all varied.
You wrote a song for your dad that you performed at the Sandhills Presbyterian Church.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
It was very touching. Of course, Mark, he wasn't moved one iota. He was very touched.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Can we play? Do we have Dorothy? Do we have a minute? I'd like to play something that Annelle wrote, just to give our listeners an idea of how talented she is.
Sometime feels like no time with you. Remember the south side coastline, just us two. Those days I choose to define me someday makes it seem unlikely that we'll ever get.
If we had an hour, we would just play your music and just all listen to it. Interestingly enough, that was you accompanying yourself on the ukulele.
Yeah, that's kind of a funny story, actually. The ukulele, I was on a road trip with my family, and there was a musician selling instruments on the side of the road. And I saw this little instrument, the ukulele, and I was like, Mom, I really want that ukulele. And she was going to say no. She really was. But then we walked out with it, and we had a 6-hour road trip. So within those 6 hours, I had written my first song on the ukulele, which was really cool. And so since then, it's been kind of a buddy of mine.
One observation I have to make about your mom and your dad, that would be Mark and Laura Staal. They consistently encourage the spirit in all of their children.
They really, they do.
It doesn't have to fit into a preformed notion of what things should be. But you get that encouragement from both of them, don't you?
Oh, yeah. They're very supportive, and I think that they want to see me succeed. So they're realistic, but they've been so great in telling me that, if music is your thing, then, life's too short to not do your thing, So I really owe a lot to both of them for that.
You said, I let the music lead me. A good song is like a dandelion seed that gets caught in the right place at the right time, and it just spreads throughout the field like a song does through people.
Yeah, it does. I love that analogy. Somebody in Nashville actually told me that, and I like to say that I'm kind of holding out for one of those songs, and you never know where a song like that will come from, and I think that that's really what does it for some musicians, is they have that thing that resonates with people.
What do you think about some of the music today that a lot of your peers listen to? Because a lot of the music that you perform, you have to stop laughing. No.
Okay.
Some of it is a little angry, very
Yeah.
edgy,
Yeah.
not so rhythmic. You're like an old soul in that regard.
Yeah. What I like to say is I think that most songs come from negative emotion, so even happy songs kind of come from negative emotion, and it's very important to have happy songs, but at the same time, it's also very important to recognize those negative emotions. And so in my music, I like to acknowledge that. I like kind of a darker feel. I like to make people think too. So I have the ukulele for the happy songs.
So you play the piano, you
I
play
do.
the ukulele,
You're right, yeah.
and the guitar?
I'm learning. I'm actually, I'm learning the guitar. I really love the guitar, but it's,
Where can people go to listen to you? You have a site?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
It's new. It's annelle.info. Annelle is kind of tricky, so it's ANNELLE.info, and that's it. You just type it right into the search box. And that's new, but it's got all the information that you could ever possibly want to know about Annelle, and links to my SoundCloud so you can listen to my music. And yeah.
You also, I have to say, you perform at the Pinecrest Village on Sunday sometime?
Yeah. I have to get back into the habit of it, but last year I would do it almost religiously after church, and that was a really cool experience.
I have to throw these questions at you because time is short.
You're fine.
Talk to me about the relationship between your music and your faith.
All right, my music and my faith. Well, I think the biggest part that my faith plays in my music is just trust. Trust that it'll all work out. And that's something where you never go into music because you want the security or you want kind of the comfort of a really nice job that will always be there for you. You kind of have to trust and take a leap of faith. And so that's where my faith has really come in.
You're one of the most impressive young ladies that I know.
Oh, well, thank you.
You really are. I admire you. I love your grit and your spirit and your focus, and it's very rare. Would you consider coming back on the show maybe in the spring and bring us up to date on what's going on? By then you'll have picked a college, or the college will have picked you.
Right, yeah.
Right?
I would love to. I'd love to.
When the colleges get a hold of you, it's going to be like lenders fighting over somebody with good credit. They're just going to want to recruit you.
Yeah, that's how it feels.
Annelle Staal, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we will most certainly see you again before you get out of Pinecrest. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
And my bearings set, and they washed away when the waters came, and I went to swim instead. Each day I take a step to you or to myself, and I chase my tail at every turn I fail. Oh God, I need your help. Guess it's true, I'm not good at a one-night stand, but I still need love, 'cause I'm just a man. But these nights never seem to go as planned. I don't want you to leave, will you hold my hand?
Welcome back to our second set. Dorothy, I could listen to her sing. Why don't we just listen to her sing all day today?
I'm sure she'd appreciate that.
Annelle Staal is a very impressive young lady. Very impressive. So we'll play her music throughout the balance of the show. And I understand she is a member of the Sandhills Presbyterian Church. And the reason I say that is because we mentioned at the first set the benefit that she did for the Life Care Pregnancy Center. And for the balance of the show, we're going to be speaking all about the Aaron Grider Foundation, and Executive Director Brittany Grider is with us, and Sheila Tooney is with us, and she's the coordinator for the community ministry at the Sandhills Presbyterian Church, and Andy Wilkinson, who is an elder. And you guys have been on before, and I'm glad that you could come back. Welcome. Good morning.
Thanks. Good morning.
So your prodigal daughter, if you could say, that was here in the first set in a way.
We would call her a covenant child. But
is that right? Yeah. I don't know my. Okay, the more I talk, the more I'll embarrass myself. So I attended that concert at the church, and I was really moved by it. And there were a lot of members of the congregation, and it just seems to me that the Sandhills Presbyterian Church seems to be at the forefront of a lot of community work in Moore County.
Thank you. We've tried, I think this actually marks almost about the year anniversary that we have really made an effort to reach out into the community in more tangible ways,
right,
rather than just with our checkbooks, which has been a predominant way we have served in the past. And so we're really inspired about a year and a half ago by a speaker that had come to our church that basically said, if your church were to disappear, would the community notice? And it really spoke to me.
Wow.
To say, what impact are we making on behalf of Christ for our community? And so we began by reaching out to some of the organizations that we already had a relationship with. Life Care Pregnancy Center is a huge one. Teen Challenge. One of our administrative pastors, John Greisel, who's been on the show before, does their chapel once a month. The Coalition for Human Care, we do a lot more service with them. Andy volunteers with them, and then Habitat was a new one that we developed a relationship with, but now that is becoming stronger and stronger. And then, of course, the Aaron Grider Foundation, because Brittany is one of our own, and so we support that in any way that we can.
Yeah, it makes me feel good to know that almost every organization you just mentioned has been on the show at one time or another.
Yeah.
And it's a consistent pattern with the kind of guests and the kind of topics we have, because most of it is all about the nonprofits helping others less fortunate than ourselves. And what a crazy world we're living in today. More than ever, boy, turning TV on is becoming toxic.
Yeah.
Brittany, you've been with the church for how long?
It's been about almost 5 years.
Yeah.
I've been attending that church.
For people who don't know, I think at this point it would be great to rehash and go back to get a little bit of the basics and the foundation of the Aaron Grider Foundation.
Absolutely, yeah. So my husband, Ronald Aaron Grider, we actually just passed his 5th year anniversary of his death, was September 18th. And so I started attending Sandhills Presbyterian very shortly after he was killed. His chaplain and family were instrumental in bringing me there. And just through the journey of it all, I began the Aaron Grider Foundation. Hope endures. So this idea that even in the midst of grief and death and tragedy, that hope does endure. And it endures from our standpoint. You know, Aaron was a very strong Christian man, and so his confidence was in Christ. He knew that, and because of that, he did what he did. He felt as though his calling to be a warrior was a spiritual calling, and he was glad to be out there protecting not only the guys behind him, but fighting for the freedom of those around him.
He
as
lost
well.
his life in service in the
military. So he was a dog handler with the Army, and he was killed in Afghanistan in 2010.
So your foundation has actually also had you do a lot of traveling.
Yeah. So service was very important to Aaron and I, and as I lived through my own grief and come across other surviving spouses who are living through similar sort of tragedy, it can be very easy to become self-focused. And so what AGF is trying to do is how can we honor the sacrifice of our loved ones? They gave their lives for others. So in our continued living, how can we give our lives away as well?
It's a fine line between feeling sorry for yourself, getting into that poor me syndrome, and then sharing with others to get outside of yourself.
Absolutely.
How do you do it?
Well,
Good question.
that's a really good question. I mean, it's in my journey, it's all been of grace, and a big thing is just pointing people, getting our eyes outwards, because there's a lot of suffering in this world, and it's not just our own suffering, whether that's poverty or you look at the Syrian refugees. I mean, it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
So getting our eyes outward, and the surviving spouses we've worked with, it's been a really powerful thing to see how service can just transform and open your eyes.
Tell me about some of the people that you've met during your work with the foundation that you otherwise would not have met.
Yeah.
You mentioned other grieving widows.
Yep.
It opens up doors that you didn't even know existed.
Absolutely.
I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be able to serve alongside these women and kids who have lost parents and spouses, it's just been an incredibly powerful thing. And there's tons of opportunities out there for surviving families. A lot can just become a distraction almost from your grief. And so what AGF is trying to do is we want to give you a substance, a foundation that is going to last beyond the distraction of a trip or some other thing, but that, pointing to the church ultimately. I mean, Sandhills Presbyterian has been such a gift to me in my continued journey, and the church is who's ultimately going to be there for these families. So if Aaron Greider Foundation can partner with local service organizations and be a bridge almost between surviving families and the church, that is ultimately what we want to be about.
The work that you're doing then sustains you.
Absolutely. It gives me purpose. I truly feel that this is my calling to do this, and the Lord has continued to open doors, not only in relationship with other surviving family members, but with other organizations and the military community itself.
It's amazing to me that there are so many single-parent families today through divorce, through grief, through death, military presence. It's hard, and I see people all the time, and how people handle their situation is key to. I mean, they have to also set an example for their kids and set a tone. And some don't set the tone that they should, but they have they kind of have lost a foundation or a bedrock, and they're just sort of out there kind of blowing in the wind.
Absolutely.
And I get that you're completely anchored in your dedication. And is that a good way to put it?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's a rock.
She is.
Brittany's so inspirational to me. I'm so happy to call her my dear friend, as well as a sister in Christ. And I think too what you said, the fine line. We are stronger when we serve together.
Right.
And so I have not walked the path that Brittany has walked, but yet I've been able to come alongside of her as she walks that path and build her up and be there for her. And I think too, when we go and serve through various areas in the community, she's partnered with Shepherd's Table up in Raleigh. That's a homeless kitchen, and we go there about once every other month. Like I said, we have an AGF Build Day with Habitat now about every other month, and it's great because the military community, a lot of the guys can get time off to come and build, and you see these men coming together alongside Brittany, alongside other surviving spouses that are able to come, and we're stronger because we're serving together, and we're serving a common purpose.
Yeah. You don't have to go any further than Moore County to see a tale of two almost very extreme different lifestyles. That you've got Southern more and Northern more, and yes, the whole world is a crazy place right now, but just here, it's like a microcosm of what seems to be going on.
Yeah.
Do you sit down each season? Do you have an assessment of what the Aaron Grider Foundation wants to prioritize? Do you set goals? How do you make these determinations?
Yeah, we actually at our board meeting this spring.
Okay.
We, at first the foundation was just an idea and trying to figure out who we are and what we are called to do. And it's pretty exciting because I think we have that specific focus now. So yeah, we are beginning that process of setting more specific goals, milestones to reach. And as of now, what we've focused in on for Aaron Grider Foundation is engaging surviving spouses, families in service, and then equipping and empowering them through training and retreat to serve in their own communities and also inspire service in their own communities.
It seems like the relationships that can get formed from this type of communication also in a way sort of provides the grieving spouses with other opportunities that they might not have even known could have existed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You see that?
Absolutely.
That's probably the best part of, maybe one of the best parts of, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, that's so true. Because one of the things, I think some of these women, a lot of these women, and women have been most of the individuals we've worked with, and their children.
Yeah.
They want to serve. They want to remember and that they are a part of this greater story, that their lives are a part of this ultimate story. So they have a desire, they just don't have an avenue. And so AGF has been able to provide that avenue.
Okay. So when you talk about some of these things that you're doing, when you smile, when you're speaking, your eyes are smiling. That's huge. Sometimes people can say everything right, but they don't feel it.
Yeah.
But when your eyes say that, you do feel it, and that's got to be an inspiration to other people who maybe aren't at that place. But your eyes smile.
Yeah.
Some people, they just eyes are have nothing to do with their smile. They're like two separate issues.
Yeah.
So that's very compelling. People can't see this; it's radio.
Yeah.
Let's come back. Let's talk more about some of the community service work that you're doing in Moore County, and these relationships and the inspirations. We'll be back. This is All Things Moore County.
But darling, stay with me. Why am I so emotional? No, it's not a good look, and some self-control. No, this'll never work. But you can lie with me so it doesn't hurt. Oh, won't you stay
Welcome back to our third set with, we're talking with the Sandhills Presbyterian Church, the Aaron Grider Foundation, and Dorothy, I think Annelle Staal could wind up being our music, radio music going forward.
I think you're
That would be amazing.
stuck on her.
Every time, I'm not, you know what, you know why I'm stuck on her? I'm stuck on her because of the kind of person she is. She's not just a beautiful young lady inside, outside, also inside. And I know her parents, and you know, it's that expression, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But she does things, she does what she loves, and at the same time she's sharing and giving to others. What a great formula for somebody so young.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, it's terrific. A couple of weeks ago, Doug Tewksbury was on. You'll know him from his association recently with the Pinehurst Community Watch Program. And he brought up something that we have brought up from time to time here, and it's that expression, you know, it takes a village to move a cause forward, to support others, to provide nets. And Sheila, it seems like with all the involvement that you have with with Brittany, the Aaron Grider Foundation, and Habitat, it does take a village, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that we've seen that more and more as we, like I said, as we serve together, you really grow stronger, and you see that in the midst of my despair or whatever pit we might be walking through, that somebody else may have it worse, and probably does have it worse. And I think that's the great thing with Habitat and the partnership. Back last spring, the Home Depot Foundation brought out a huge crew to start working on a veterans build, and it was great. And they actually, because of our partnership with Habitat and Brittany's involvement, they highlighted the Aaron Grider Foundation at that, since Aaron died in service. And it was great to have Brittany out there to see the 200 plus Home Depot guys, you know, swinging hammers and doing something for our community. And it really, I think, inspired us. And post that, we did our first couple AGF build days with Habitat, gathered a lot of guys, had advance notice that we were able to get off work. And we did it on a Thursday and a Saturday, and it was great to see people coming together to support Brittany, to support the foundation, but ultimately to support Habitat, and even more ultimately to support the people that are going to be in those homes.
Yeah. What you're building is impressive, but you're doing it in service to others, not to yourself.
Yeah, and it's been a great privilege to work with members of Sandhills Presbyterian, as well as those in the military community, and those who serve currently, including chaplains and active duty guys, but also then with the families who not only support their soldiers, but those who have lost their soldiers as well.
Yeah. So you're initiating. You're not reacting to the world. You're building something because you started something. And when she was talking about all the guys that showed up, it's what you build.
Yeah.
But you don't. It's not a person. I mean, you don't. It's not ego related. It's just about for the betterment of others.
Yeah, and there are so many wonderful organizations out there.
Yeah.
So
right.
Aaron Grider Foundation isn't trying to create anything new per se,
Right.
but just partner with those organizations that are already established and bring volunteers.
You know, the model that you use, service to others, not to self, it's a business model, too. It doesn't have to be just church-based. It's common sense. But you can tell the difference when someone is trying to serve themselves under the guise of serving others. You want to take a hot shower and just kind of wash it off.
It's interesting too, because the military community is so family based and so supportive of one another, and so you know, Brittany's not outside of that anymore. She's still within that community, and they are very protective of her and supportive of her in everything that they do. And I think it's great, you know, talking about Habitat. A lot of people volunteer for Habitat. It's a great organization. I encourage anybody. But the foremen and the guys there, they're like, you know, they know when Brittany and I bring a team that we're there to work together, and we get a lot of progress done because they see it's coming together and work together. And I think they see that with lots of groups, not just ours, but they see, I think they see that common goal of really service. And I think they see the Christian perspective that we bring too, as well, that we're coming together for a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people still to this day misunderstand Habitat for Humanity. I think their slogan is a hand up, not a hand out.
Absolutely, yeah.
People who get homes built for them, they have to take part in the work.
Right.
They have to have the credit, the responsibility to earn it. It's not
and
just
they pay
anybody.
a mortgage. They pay a mortgage, and they have to put so many sweat equity hours into it. And
Right.
so it's amazing to come alongside those homeowners. We just had a dedication a couple weeks ago of one of the veteran homes that the Home Depot started,
Right.
and you know, highlighted Aaron Grider Foundation, and it was great to see
Right.
this veteran that would not be in a home otherwise, and to see the faces of him and his wife as they were standing in their brand new living room, knowing that it was something that they worked toward, and it was very honoring to see that. And I think it's great to not only in the community, and I if it's okay to segue into our, you know, one of the things that AGF did was we did a mission trip last June that I was very honored to go on. Our church, Andy was very supportive. We sent.
Is Andy still here?
I don't know. I keep trying to engage him.
Is he here? We introduced him at the beginning of the show, and you are here. Okay.
I am here. I'm
He's
full
being
support. You guys are doing
non-verbally
great.
He's the coach.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
The
but
mission trip.
we went. So the Aaron Grider Foundation has gone to Acuna, Mexico, for 2 years now, to serve with Casas por Cristo, which is Houses for Christ, and it's a great organization. Why don't you tell them, Brittany, more about it?
Yeah, so Aaron and I served with Casas por Cristo actually the week before we were married. Went on a mission trip together. And I've worked with this organization for quite a while now. And, so we bring a group. They provide the leadership as far as the building goes, and we bring the hands and feet and the money. So the amount people pay to go on the trip really goes to the building materials of the house. And then AGF covers the rest of lodging and transportation and food costs. And so we go and we've paid for the materials, and then we build a house in 3.5 days. And the family could not be more thankful. But, you know, in any experience like that, you realize you go to build them something, but you walk away with almost so much more than you went with.
One of their shirts says, "I need Mexico more than Mexico needs me." And I think that's such a great image, because I was fortunate to take my 2 children, my 10-year-old and my 14-year-old, with me. There was several other surviving spouses and their families, or representatives of their families, some surviving children along with us from our church. And it was amazing to see the youth response to what we were doing. It was very impactful on them, because they realized how much they have, that we are rich by comparison of this family we built them a 3-room home that I literally have a bedroom in my house that's as big as that. It was 17 by 28 or 15 by 30 or something like that. 3-room home for 6 people, and you would have thought we gave them a mansion.
What is it? You gave your children a great life lesson. How do you wean them off? And this is maybe one of the ways, that sense of entitlement that kind of creeps into an adolescent's mindset, like the world owes them what TV tells them or the internet tells them. And you hope that they grow and they develop past that. And it's a tough journey, because
I would say, too, in the surviving community, entitlement is a big issue as well. You know, this idea of what am I owed now because of what I've lived through.
Yep.
And I think in the folks we meet, not only serving in the local community, but also serving in Mexico, these folks are rich in joy. And by the world standards, they don't have anything. And yet their gratitude and joy just seeps through.
Right.
And that impacts you greatly when you see how much you have, and yet you're not nearly as joyous. You start to think, wait a second, what are they relying on And where does that joy come from? And I think we saw that a lot in
we saw
the
that a
youth,
lot,
especially.
And I think that's my two boys. That was the biggest impact that they had. That they, you bring a soccer ball to the street and you have a crowd and kids line up, and it was huge. And we met, and at the end we'll give Brittany's website, but you can read on her newsletter the story of Yolanda, which was this woman that we met just via one of the Casas workers. Named Yolanda, and this is a woman that takes it upon herself to feed 30-plus children 3 days a week lunch because she knows they might not have food.
Right.
And she does it from her one room, really, house.
Yeah.
And she was so inspiring, to us and to Brittany. And Brittany took a couple of the kids and went shopping for her that day, and we paid for the food, or the foundation paid for the food, which was amazing. But even then, to see having our kids see this one woman. Yeah. So I think that's how we inspire our kids. Is you don't have to take them to Mexico. If you can, great. But you can go down to the coalition and spend a day to see how many families in Moore County they're providing food and clothing for, seeing their pantry and how to fill it, bringing food for their pantry. You can take them. Habitat has age restrictions, but there's other things that Habitat will allow kids to do. Sometimes you can be younger and helping with landscaping. You can go to Life Care Pregnancy Center and see all the people that they're serving. And I think by just opening your kids' eyes to what's going on in the community, and how they really do realize. And my kids now are so ready to give. They're so ready to say, I don't need this anymore. Let me pass this toy on. Let me pass these clothes on. Let me take this coat to Coalition because somebody needs it more than I do.
Taking your kids, Andy, to the Coalition would be a great lesson, because there are so many people who are so up against it for whatever the reason. Maybe their formulas just didn't work, and they haven't worked, and there's a lot of need, and if you see it, it's very sobering.
It is. It's been, eye-opening to me, and, very fulfilling and humbling to serve there. And the story of the coalition, how they came together, the area churches that formed it many years ago, I think is a great story and a good reason for its sustainability, because these women are such a great example of the how we want members of our congregation to not have that sense of entitlement, because that's a problem in a lot of areas. It's a problem in the church a lot of times too. People come and what's in this for me? Well, it's not about you, and that's the Aaron Grider Foundation is one of the longest running avenues of community outreach that our church has been involved with for a long time, and we are so excited about how Brittany has been such a good example for other people in our church to give of herself so freely, and we are happy to support it and the others, because it's a way for our church not to beat our chest and say this is what Sandhills Presbyterian Church is doing, but it's a way to get across to people, hopefully, the only true hope that's out there, and that's the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that's why we're involved in these things.
You remind me of the movie Field of Dreams, when Kevin Costner comes across his ghost father, or even before that, I'm sorry, and he wants to go into the field with the Ray Liotta character, and Ray Liotta says, no, we don't want you, we want James Earl Jones, I think it was. And Kevin Costner said, what do you mean? This is my field. This is my house. I gave you permission. What's in it for me? And that's exactly what you're trying to fight.
Right.
As you said that. That's exactly what I thought. I need the website. I need some information so people can read a little bit more about the Aaron Grider Foundation.
Yeah, so the website is Aaron Grider Foundation, and Aaron is spelled Aaron, Grider, Grider, Foundation.org. And that has newsletter articles on it, blog posts, has more information about Aaron's and my story and the logo, and then also a wonderful 4-minute video about the foundation using the platform of the mission trip to tell that story.
Well, you guys are. It's always a pleasure to have you come on and to talk about the work that you do,
and the work does take funding. So
you guys are
coming up, we are challenged, and so coming up, Brittany is which annual golf tournament is it?
Yes, 5th annual.
Aaron Grutter Foundation Golf Tournament.
Yep, local tournament, and it's a great time to get Aaron's comrades together and also raise money for the cause.
And it's October 3rd.
Okay, that's coming right up.
Yeah, just around the corner.
And there's information on the website?
On the website,
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we unfortunately are winding down in time, but all I can tell you is you keep your eyes smiling the way they are, because look at them. That just speaks about the genuineness of everything that you're doing. Sheila Tooney, thank you for coming and joining us.
Thank you.
Andy Wilkerson, we're glad we got you to talk a little bit there at the end.
Thanks for partnering with us.
Yeah,
and Brittany Grider, it's a pleasure to see you, and it's very inspiring to listen to you. Everybody, have a great week, and we are going to give a gift certificate to you guys from the Four Seasons on Broad, which is a great restaurant on Broad Street near Ice House Square. To please go in there and have some lunch on us or some dinner on us. It's probably the best food in Moore County. It's one of my favorite places.
Thank you very much.
Four Seasons on Broad. Everybody, have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay